everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, rural America versus the cities.
Yeah. It's city folk versus country folk. We're gonna talk about the real war that's happening in America.
Yeah, some things might surprise you, actually.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, we have to get to a better way of bridging that gap.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the thing that defines the divide in America.
And I feel like Frank
than
and I are
anything.
going to solve that problem today.
This is it
Permanently.
No, I think we want it to be a political divide, or we want it to be specifically a religious divide, or whatever, right? And I think there's more to it.
Yeah.
There are underlying
We think we
differences.
understand it, but we don't.
Everybody needs to listen to the Frank and Dan splain of this whole thing.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely on it. Faux show.
Oh, my God, Dan.
Yes?
Turkey. The country.
Oh.
Not the food or animal.
Yeah. Erdogan country? Is that?
Erdogan. Very, very nice, Dan.
Yeah. Boom. Nailed it. World leaders 101.
Well, he is bringing he's a refreshing leader.
Oh, isn't he just?
He's working on some very subtle changes.
Some laws?
Turkey, some new laws, some new policies, and what have you.
Sure.
Targeting the schools.
Uh-oh.
That's what people like to do. Get to the kids first.
You got to get them when they're young.
The Turkish schools are going to stop teaching evolution.
Oh, thank God. Because let me tell you something. It just confuses them.
Absolutely. Well, their chair of the Board of Education,
Is that
Alpislan Dermis.
Davos?
No.
I think it's pronounced Davos. I think they're related.
Yeah. Through a distant relation.
Yeah.
He says that evolution is debatable, controversial, and, get this, too complicated for students.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, so probably we shouldn't teach it.
This is him. We believe that these subjects are beyond their comprehension. Speaking about the students. There is, this, of course, is in a region of the world that is heavily affected by Islam.
Yes,
And
very Muslim
even
country.
though that Turkey has a well-established secular tradition, the sort of the founding principles of Turkey were actually to create a secular nation it's a Muslim-dominated, Muslim-majority country,
Right.
but a secular system, right?
Don't worry, they're fixing that.
This was a goal of this founding principle.
Right.
But, of course, Islam, the clerics, Muslim clerics, don't really like evolution very much.
No.
Because it contradicts the story of creation.
Yeah, all of them
And-
religious folks, with this bizarre exception of the Pope himself, have some trouble with the concept of evolution.
I love this. The Deputy Prime Minister described evolution as a theory that is both archaic
Oh, archaic,
and
right.
lacking sufficient evidence.
Right, yeah, of course. But don't worry, we can replace it with
Are archaic.
a Bronze Age story that makes way more sense. Like, when you look at the evidence, obviously, God done it.
Right.
That's the answer.
Yeah. Much easier.
It
and
is-
so much more evidence.
Well, and the kids can understand it. Thank God.
And maybe evolution just isn't archaic enough for these people.
Yeah. It'll come back around in a couple thousand years.
Let
and
it be, once the science texts are at least what, 1,000 years old, 1,500 years old, then they can be accepted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so before anybody gets too snooty about that backwards country not accepting science, I'm gonna tell a story.
I'm not feeling snooty at all.
About
I think they're just joining us.
Well, I'm gonna bring in another area of the world because there's been a recent ruling by the Court of Justice of the European Union.
Okay, yeah.
And this ruling applies basically to all of the EU. So we'll enjoy that. Basically, what the court has ruled is that courts may consider vaccines to be the cause of an illness, even in the absence of scientific evidence confirming a leak.
No.
So
This
is based on I believe a French guy who's known in the suit as JW.
J-Dub himself.
J-Dub himself, who apparently he got a Hep B vaccination in the 90s, and then 1 year later developed MS. And he decided that there was an obvious link because correlation equals causation.
Yeah, that whole post-hoc thing.
And he sued the pharmaceutical company, Sanofi Pasteur, which produces the vaccines, and basically blamed it. Now, he died. He's gone. He's out of the picture.
Oh, no.
But the court has now ruled that if there's enough sort of other evidence relating to timeliness. Here are the quote specific and consistent evidence that is required to make this a go without any real scientific evidence. So if you have timeliness, a prior healthy status, lack of family history, and multiple cases, that may be enough to say that a vaccine caused your illness. So the woo believers of the world may rejoice. They can
None of that's correct.
None of that proves jack shit.
Right.
In scientific terms.
Why not?
I mean,
my God.
So I mean, like, just for instance, in JW's case, is that what I said? JW. In his case, there is no evidence linking that vaccine with multiple sclerosis. That is not. No. There's no cause. There is no causal association between those things. But if he was healthy before, and then 1 year later he's not healthy, doy. That's like when
post hoc ergo propter hoc.
Yeah.
Before, therefore, because of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Something like that.
Ridiculous. I only know that because there's an episode of The West Wing where President Bartlett lays into.
There you go. That President Bartlett educated us all.
Bartlett's America. I want to live in Bartlett's America. I've said that many times.
That was a fever dream that doesn't exist in real life. You can't have it. We've tried it. It doesn't work.
It does not work.
So there you go. Bad news, I think, for Europeans wanting to be ruled by logic and reason.
I'm really surprised by this. This is the Court of Human Rights, you said?
No, it's the European Court. What is it? The EU. It is the Court of Justice of the European Union.
Oh, Court of Justice.
Which is sort of the overarching, like, mega super court.
The kind of their Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's even supremer because it goes over all of the EU.
Over nations.
Yeah, multiple nations.
Wow, that's impressive. All right. Okay. Well, I have a court decision.
Oh, good.
Actually, this is going to be court decision heavy show.
Okay.
Yeah, both my remaining stories are judges saying things.
I have another legal one too. We're just going to keep going.
This is okay. All right. Brace
It's a
yourself.
legal theme.
Brace yourself, everyone. News from Mississippi.
Oh, good.
Woo! We love news from Mississippi.
Hey, man. All the good stuff for our show from this country comes out of the South.
Thank God for Mississippi.
Mississippi.
That's yeah. Anyway, so Mississippi passed a law in response to the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court decided to make gay marriage legal in all 50 states.
You mean when the Supreme Court decided to invite Satan to rule over our country?
Mississippi was one of the states that passed a law that said that business owners and whatnot could, due to their deeply held, religious beliefs, they could discriminate against gay people.
Thank God.
Right? Because nobody wants to be forced into performing a gay marriage or hosting a gay marriage or
letting
pizza.
Letting gays stay at your rental
reception.
property or whatever.
Oh, my God. It's just the worst.
It's disgusting. Do you know what those people do in there?
I know. It's awesome. So the courts... So there was a suit that was filed by a bunch of plaintiffs, including ordained ministers who have married same-sex couples and same-sex
Traitors.
Couples who were seeking to marry.
Okay.
There was an injunction placed on the law.
Okay.
That the court has now lifted. That's the story.
Oh, goody.
Is that this court has found that these plaintiffs did not have standing in order to bring the lawsuit. None of the plaintiffs has clearly shown an injury in fact, says the panel of judges. And
so they're not ruling on the merit of the law or whatever.
Not at this point.
They've decided that
nobody who has been harmed by the law has stepped forward and filed a suit.
Well, because there was an injunction on it. The law wasn't able to start yet. So now we got to wait until I get the standing thing to some extent.
Well,
but the standing thing is troubling because what it says is you personally, in order to sue, you have to have been hurt by the thing.
I mean, I get that. I mean, that makes sense.
Well, what that means is that if a law is bound to hurt someone, right. If a law is passed and we know it's going to hurt this person,
right.
In order to challenge it in the court, we have to wait until the person is actually hurt, and then we can proceed while it's hurting other people.
So the legislature passes a law that says it's okay to kick Dan Beecher as hard as you want.
Right.
Whenever you want.
Kick any guy that's my height and blue-eyed.
So it actually names you.
Okay, fine. Great. The Dan Beecher deserves to be kick act of
you have to wait. You can't file a suit
until someone actually kicks me.
Until somebody actually comes along and kicks you.
Right. I can't be like, courts, can we stop this before I get kicked? Oh, no. If it were it's okay to stab Dan Beecher act.
That's terrifying, Dan. Now, there could be some emotional distress that was caused by this. Clearly, there would be. Would that be?
Maybe.
Would that give you
maybe
grounds to file a lawsuit?
One would hope.
We need a lawyer.
We need
a lawyer to explain this to us.
We really don't. This is so stupid. Oh,
anywho,
good Lord.
There are now gay people in Mississippi waiting to be kicked or stabbed.
Yeah.
Basically, so that they can file a lawsuit about this.
Because everybody likes to be tied up in a big, dumb lawsuit because their state decided that they could pass a law that obviously will not pass muster.
Yeah. What is it about Mississippi? I do not understand Mississippi. They go out of their way to show how backward and ridiculous and ignorant they are.
Frank, we're going to be talking about this later.
It's unbelievable.
They have a different way of viewing things. And it's wrong. That's all. They're just wrong.
But why is it always fucking Mississippi?
It's not. Alabama takes a good chunk of it.
They do their share.
Come on, Roy Moore's home state. You got to give Bama the credit where it's deserved.
I know, but seriously,
Texas does some good stuff.
Yeah,
even Arizona.
It just seems like Mississippi.
Our fair state, for God's sake,
they
has
just take it a step further.
They do. Mississippi's, they're great like that.
Thank God for Mississippi.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to take us to Texas, speaking of.
Oh, are you?
Where there's some good-ish news for at least one couple. Do you recall the satanic panic of the 80s?
Yes, it was ridiculous.
Where, like, everybody was, all the televangelists were convinced that there was this massive amount of Satanism happening and all this stuff. And a lot of people, like, got kind of swept up and got genuinely hurt because they were accused. It was a witch hunt. It was very much a witch hunt. People were just swept up in it.
Yeah.
Well, two of the people that were swept up in it were Fran and Dan Keller of Texas.
Okay.
They, in 1992, were prosecuted for child endanger. I don't know what the exact charges were, but they were basically. This is sort of, to my mind, the pinnacle of how this satanic panic worked, and it's terrifying.
Okay.
These two had a little daycare thing going on, and a little girl who was at the daycare, I think she was, let's see, how old was she? She was 3. She was 3. Okay. 3-year-old girl. She was an occasional drop-in at their little, it's a home daycare center.
Oh, okay. Right.
On the rural outskirts of Austin. Apparently she came home one day and said that Dan had spanked her, quote, like daddy used to do. Now, I have a huge problem with just that.
Right.
And if that's where it had stopped, I would say Dan probably needed to never be a child care person or whatever.
Okay.
But that is not where this stopped.
Okay.
What they did with this little girl, they took her to a therapist and subjected her to intense and repeated questioning by her therapist, by her mother, by police, and basically guided this little girl unintentionally. But this is what happened.
Okay.
And this happened all the time, all over the world. They would guide the girl. They would ask her leading questions that would get her to say, they just assumed that there was more than just the spanking.
Right.
They'd say, what else happened? What else? And basically lead the girl to think something else had to have happened, so she starts talking.
Okay.
By the time these two poor people had been charged with anything, like, it's insane. So the Austin Chronicle did a story a few years back. Back in 2008, they decided to reinvestigate this thing.
Uh-huh.
They had to sue to get the Austin Police Department's report of the case, because they wouldn't give it to them.
Oh.
When they finally did, apparently it was crazy. This reporter describes it as a, quote, an all-caps, run-on sentence fever dream of breathless accusations and absent any actual investigation that could prove or disprove the claims.
Okay.
They said the lead investigator took the girl who accused the Kellers to lunch at McDonald's before setting out for drives in the neighborhood where she would point out locations. Yes, she had been abused there. Yes, she recognized the cemetery where the Kellers had killed and buried babies. Yes, many of the residents in the quiet neighborhood were in on everything.
No.
They were accused. They had sacrificed babies, held ceremonies in a graveyard, put blood in the children's Kool-Aid. Fran, People believed this shit.
Okay.
Believed every word of it. Are you ready for this?
But who are these cops that not a single one of them said, well, but where were they getting these babies? And
you're not even ready for what I'm about to tell you. They accused Fran, this lady, probably a very nice lady. They said she cut off the arm of a gorilla in a local park.
Show me the gorilla missing an arm.
They flew the children to Mexico to be sexually assaulted by military officials.
Oh, yeah. No, that happens all the time.
Well, sex trafficking does happen, but then they don't return the children to their parents that night. What the fuck are these people doing?
Oh, Dan.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
And the more outlandish it got, what should have happened was the less they should have believed it.
Yeah.
But the more outlandish they got, the more interested they were in what they ended up doing was they wanted to fry these people. And they did. They got it. I mean, they basically, they got them.
Well, they probably ruined their business, if nothing else.
No, they got them thrown into jail for.
Oh, my God.
They were sentenced to, what is the sentence? It was like 30 some odd years in jail or more.
For what?
All of those things. They were convicted.
On what evidence? A child said it?
On the evidence of, yes, the child saying it was the main evidence. A 3-year-old's testimony, super reliable, was the main thing.
Cut the arm of a gorilla. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so now, thank God, these people, based on this 2008 examination, reinvestigation by the Austin Chronicle, the people are now, almost 10 years later, being exonerated.
Oh, my God.
They are finally being let out of jail. They've been in jail this whole time.
What? None of this makes any sense.
And they were finally being let out.
None of it.
No. This is how fucked up that whole satanic panic thing was. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think that in the 80s there was a problem with Satanism, don't worry, there wasn't. That didn't exist. That was just in the minds of a bunch of crazed preachers who wanted to make people scared.
Right.
It didn't happen. But I remember people were talking about it.
Oh, I remember there were like cats that had been sacrificed.
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
And there was like some pentagram thing that somebody found where like animal sacrifice had taken place.
Backmasking on audio was what everybody was scared about.
Playing the audio backward.
Yeah, you play and you know, the band Kiss stood for Knights in Satan's Service and all of this all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And
so it was just all created out of the imaginations of some very, very sick preachers.
Well, that's the thing. These preachers, these politicians, they all need an enemy.
Yeah.
They need someone to point to and scare you. And whenever someone's trying to scare you, they're trying to get something out of you. They're trying to get you to give them money, to give them support for their campaign. They're scaring you for a reason.
Right.
Fortunately, these two, the Kellers, who have spent 21 years behind bars, looks like they will be compensated decent. Like, they won't have to worry about finances for a while. They'll each get, I think, $1.7 million.
Jesus.
Because the state convicted them with zero evidence of the most horrific crimes you can imagine.
Yeah. Wow. That's
and yet, try to actually prosecute a real rape case and see what happens. See how that goes for you.
Yeah.
But if you say Satan rape, well, maybe that'll work. Yeah. Who knows?
That's what they needed to accuse Bill Cosby of.
Yeah. Get him on Satanism.
Yeah. That would not have been a hung jury.
Oh, my God. Don't even.
All right. Okay.
So
moving on. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
A judge in Pensacola.
In the fine state of Florida.
Yes, indeed.
Pensacola, one of the better colas.
I don't know if he is located in Pensacola, but it's within his jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
He's a senior U.S. district judge. Has given the city of Pensacola 30 days to remove a cross from a park.
Oh, right.
It's been there for 75 years in one form or another. There was originally, I guess it was originally a wood cross, and now it's a concrete cross.
Well, they last better.
And it's funny, the headline says that he reluctantly orders cross removed. And then you get into the story, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because the man's following the law.
Yeah.
And he knows how to apply the law. He doesn't like it, and he's going to just keep on fucking saying it.
He's going to say how much he
says
does
over and over. Things like, let's see. After somewhere in the decision, he says that the founding fathers would have most likely found this lawsuit absurd. I am aware that there is a lot of support in Pensacola to keep the cross as it is, and I understand and respect that point of view. He says in his 23-page ruling, but the law is the law.
Wow, somebody actually believes in law. That's nice.
He ordered the city to pay $1 in damages to the 4 plaintiffs.
Okay. Cute.
Who were represented by the American Humanist Legal Center. Count me among those who hope the Supreme Court will one day revisit and reconsider its establishment cause jurisprudence, but my duty is to enforce the law as it now stands. The number of times that he must say something similar throughout these 23 pages.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to be fired. He's probably on the hook for this thing, and he doesn't want to lose his job next election.
Yeah. The 34-foot cross,
34 feet.
Okay. Costs the city $233 a year in maintenance.
Yeah.
And
which isn't a shit ton of money, but it shouldn't be spent on endorsing one religion over all others.
And here he says, even though the cross costs very little to maintain, has hosted tens of thousands of people and has stood as a public property and has stood on public property in one form or another for approximately 75 years, apparently without incident. 4 people, Amanda Kondratyev, Andrei Kondratyev, David Suhor, and Andrei Ryland, contend they are, quote, offended by it and want it removed.
The quote.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're definitely not really offended, but they claim to be, so...
Yeah. The city argued that the cross was not exclusively religious in nature.
Right. That's what they always argue, because they are idiots.
How could you possibly say that? Well, I don't know why the artist decided to form the concrete that way, but that's what he decided.
I mean, we think of it more as a lowercase letter T. That's how I think of it. I don't know how you guys think of it, but when I was recently in Idaho Falls, Idaho, I was walking along the river there, and they have in a park a 10 Commandments.
Oh boy.
And at the base of the 10 Commandments, I'm going to see if I can read this because I took a picture of it. It says, and it's kind of shitty, like, so this is in the same stone. This is carved into the stone.
Yeah.
At the base of it, it says, "This display is not meant to endorse any particular system of religious belief or intrude into what does that say? Into matters of religions or of religious worship."
This is the fine print on the thing.
As a historical precedent, the 10 Commandments represents sorry, this is really hard to read. Represents one of man's earliest efforts to live by the rule of law. Basically, they're saying, you can't sue us. This isn't about religion.
It's about history.
We can sue you.
And
it is
someone will.
Someone should.
Someone should.
Someone less lazy than me, please write to the someone who lives in
someone
Idaho.
Who lives there. Somebody who has standing.
Yes, exactly. Someone who lives in Idaho Falls, please write into the humanists or the FUFRF and just say, hey, we should probably get rid of this piece of shit.
Yeah. The judge, I just want to get this one last thing in.
Okay.
Wanted to make sure that the city understood that they do have options with regard to this cross.
Mm-hmm.
They could, of course, allow worshipers on Easter. I guess this must be a congregating point at Easter or something.
Sure.
I don't know. They could use a temporary cross.
Sure.
For the religious stuff.
Yeah.
Just put it up and then take it down, and it's not maintained by the city. It's the people brought the cross.
It's your cross.
BYOC.
Yeah.
You know?
Obviously.
Or they could sell or lease the land holding the cross to a private property.
Yeah.
Quote, so long as the transfer was bona fide and not a subterfuge.
Meaning you can't sell a parcel of public land for 1 penny.
Right.
And
you got to figure out the real value of it. You got to do this. You got to do that.
Which is how
and you also need to transfer the maintenance and all the stuff.
Right.
If there's a little patch of grass that comes along with it, the city's not going to be mowing that patch of grass.
Oh, someone needs to start a church right now in Pensacola and then offer to buy that land and buy that and maintain that cross and then just
tear it down.
Just ruin it. Yeah, tear it down or put up or make it put Satan horns on it and a pitchfork or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean they'd have to sell it to to the public. They couldn't be and it'd have to be bona fide, so they'd probably have to list the property or whatever.
Yeah. Lucian Greaves needs to buy this land. The Satanic Temple must own this land. And leave the cross up by all means, but do some other stuff too. Have some fun with it.
Have some fun.
Let's enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm going to call Lucian. I don't know Lucian Greaves.
Right.
I'm going to take us to Israel.
Beautiful Israel.
The fabulous Israel. I've never been there. But it's a place.
It is. It exists.
My parents got in trouble there once.
What did they do?
They apparently drove to the wrong part of town, and stones were hurled at them.
No.
They were stoned.
The car.
The car. And then they brought it back.
Clunk, clunk.
They brought it back to the car rental place, and they were like, sorry. And they were like, happens all the time.
Of course.
I was like,
of course, that would be the reaction. And
it's part of the world
Israel.
I definitely want to go to, for sure. Anywho, there's been a court ruling, and this is an issue that you and I have touched on before. El Al Airlines, which is the
El
Al, ELAL, 2 words.
El Al,
which is the
Al.
That's the big one. No, I don't think L is the same. This isn't Spanish. I don't speak enough Hebrew to know what El Al would mean.
Okay.
But anyway, it's the airline of choice in Israel.
Oh yeah,
I think they have been sued by a woman, an older woman, one Miss something Rabinowitz. What's her name? Renee Rabinowitz, a Holocaust survivor.
Okay.
P.S.
Wow, she must be old.
Yeah, she's in her 80s now.
Wow.
Who was taking an El Al flight from Newark to Jerusalem.
Okay.
And was asked by a flight attendant to stand up and move. She was in business class. She was flying nice.
Yeah.
Asked to move to a different business class seat because the gentleman sitting next to her was ultra-Orthodox and didn't want to sit by a woman.
He can move.
Right?
He doesn't want to sit next to a woman. He can fucking move.
And maybe the only other available seat was next to another woman. Do you ever think of that, Frank?
Well, then fuck him.
Well, that's what the courts have said.
Yay!
Yeah, the courts
really?
in Israel have moved. She sued. She moved,
right,
and then later decided, you know what? That's actually fucking shitty.
Yeah,
that's really offensive.
Yeah.
So she sued, and the courts have basically have said that they can't do that. They can't ask a passenger to sit up because another passenger has bullshit views on gender.
What about if somebody smells?
Then
can you ask them if they smell?
Yeah, totally.
I have bullshit ideas about stinky people.
Yeah, those aren't bullshit. People should be kicked off of. If you stink going onto a plane, fuck you.
Yeah, no kidding.
You deserve everything you get.
Well, okay, so maybe not that, but like, okay, awesome.
Yeah, I think.
No, well done.
Yeah.
So now El Al will maybe have saran wrap kits,
right?
That they can just
a bag,
sir. May I interest you in your female presence protection kit?
Right. We can't ask her to move. We can offer you this full body ultra orthodox condom, however, which will keep you and she safe from each other for the duration of the flight. We have had some problems with suffocation, but I think you'll be okay. We'll cut a hole.
They could also have just petite curtains.
Just a little. You have to bring your own. I think you have to bring your own. Oh my God! Ladies and gentlemen,
is a full-service airline.
Listeners to our show may not know this. May not have. Newer listeners may not have heard this, but yeah, Google the ultra orthodox guy that wrapped himself in plastic.
Yeah,
that's an image you need to see. But yes, so apparently they what they think is true about this is that these men could ask other people if they're willing to move. They just can't ask
the airline cannot use its sort of authority,
right,
to ask people to move.
Right. And if someone says reason. No thanks, I'm staying,
right,
then that's on you. You know that you can't. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
You might actually have to sit next to one of those nasty old,
flying
people with a uterus
has a certain level of unpleasantness to it. It just does.
You don't get to pick who you're next to.
Yeah, you're often just not. The situation isn't the best.
Right.
It's
if we
loud,
all got to pick who we were next to, no plane would ever take off because there's the woman with the baby,
right,
and nobody wants to be next to that baby, and nobody wants to be next to the larger people because they're all upset about a little losing half an inch of their space or whatever, or touching or something. There would be no flights if we all could throw a hissy fit about who we didn't want to sit next to.
Well, there would, but it would be like that. One of those Saudi or Middle Eastern,
like United Air,
Airlines.
the UAE,
Emirates Air, whatever,
where everybody gets a room, and it costs $4 billion to fly anywhere.
Oh, but how would that be
someday?
Oh, take a shower, steward. I'd like to schedule a shower, please.
Right? Yeah. Oh, Patreon guys, you need to help us out. we need to fly better. Oh,
yeah, that'll be the day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts that you'd like to share with us about any of these things, including who you're going to sit next to on your next flight, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message.
Sure.
The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and see what Mackenzie's been up to.
And while there on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we'll let you in.
Won't you feel special?
Hey, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Got some audio here for you.
Oh, thank God.
Something you might want to listen to. Rick Riles.
Yeah.
You know his name? Or you know that name?
You
heard this guy?
He's just one of them.
Wiles, maybe? Riles? I said Riles.
Yeah.
Wiles.
It's Wiles, yeah.
Rick Wiles.
He's wily.
He's got some nice things to say about Russia. So let's...
That's always a good sign.
Let's listen in.
A few weeks ago, I was reading news articles quoting American evangelical Christian leaders, some very famous people, who were condemning Russia for being an anti-Christian nation that persecuted Christians. And this was being quoted on the news networks and in newspapers. And I'm not going to name names because every time I name names, I get a blast and I just don't feel like dealing with it anymore. I get tired of it. Okay. You can go find it yourself and figure out who said it. But you know what the Russians did? They banned the Jehovah Witnesses, kicked them out of the country. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you did it. I wish we could do it. I wish we could get rid of all the cults in this country. We'd be better off for it. But we allow the cults to run around in the country. The Russians said, we don't want the American cults over here. We're a Christian nation, and we don't want their cults.
Their cults.
No cults. C-A-U-L-T-S. Cults.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Banning the J-dubs. He's all for it.
He's 100% on board.
What a dick.
That's friendly fire. As far as I'm concerned, friendly fire was there were shots fired today.
Yeah.
That is fucked up.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I'm no big fan of the J-dubs.
Right.
But they believe basically all the same bullshit that you believe, you dumbass.
They've got some cuckoo ideas about like blood transfusions.
Yeah, and they won't, and they don't like apparently birthday parties.
No birthday parties, no Christmas, no holidays.
They're
boring as all get out.
They've got more rules.
Yeah.
But that to me just makes them better Christians. To me, that's like that just draws them closer to apparently what the Bible wants them to do.
Yeah, they are kooky. I mean, there's no denying the fact that the Jehovah's Witnesses are a little on the kooky side. But here's the deal. It's only kooky because it's different from your kooky.
Right.
Like, take a step back just for a minute and look at what the fuck you believe.
Yeah.
You're also an idiot.
Yeah,
and
you're
probably, by your definition here, be kicked out of Russia.
Your cult is just bigger than their cult.
That's by a bit. J-dubs, though, they're not huge, but they've got millions of followers.
They're worldwide.
They're all over the place.
Except in Russia.
Not.
I mean, we reported on that a couple weeks ago that they were kicked out of Russia. But, man, you know, this is one of those things where the same people who are screaming religious liberty and you can't take away our rights and blah, 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 boy, they're sure as fuck happy if someone whose religion looks even minimally different than their own.
Because this is all the same vein, the same group of people who they want, when they say religious freedom, they mean they want Christianity protected. And that's it.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing. They don't consider J-dubs to be true Christians.
Right.
Even though they believe in
They use that
Christ
same
and all
dumb
that
Bible.
stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's not the same dumb Bible. It's their own ridiculous translation of the same dumb Bible, but
Same dumb Bible, though.
basically,
It's the same shit. It's all, yeah.
yeah, they rewrote the Bible to fit what they wanted to believe or whatever, and then they fucking believe that shit. And
Which is no different than anybody else, really.
most people don't go out rewriting the Bible.
No, they do, though. The evangelical, have you seen how many stupid Bible translations there are?
There's a lot.
And the evangelicals use them. They love them.
They do. Well, they like the modern English translations.
Right. But those
Which,
also...
why not? Because when King James...
Yeah. It's
when
not...
the King James Version came out, it was modern.
Yeah, it's not
for
the
its
16th
time.
century
it was current
anymore.
in its use of language. Why does it have to be old?
Well, I
sounding?
mean, it was poetic.
Sure.
Which the modern ones are decidedly not.
Yeah.
There's no poetry in it. And, you know, there were the... King James actually assembled some of the most brilliant minds of his time and writers. There are theories about Shakespeare having been brought in to work on the King James. Yeah. One of which is delightful. It involves a psalm. I don't remember which psalm. But the theory goes, it's a conspiracy theory, but it's cute. The theory goes that if you read, I think Shakespeare was meant to be like 46 at the time. And if you read 46 words in, like on, it's like the 46th chapter or whatever, like somehow there's this numerology to it. But if you read 46 words in from the first word, you get the word shake.
Oh.
And 46 words back from the last word, you get the word spear.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about that.
Look at him. He was clever.
Could have happened. Who knows?
Maybe.
Might be a coincidence.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, what they should probably do, instead of just, Joe Schmo deciding to, I'm going to rewrite the Bible, they should collect some people together.
Yeah.
Get our best poets.
Get
our
some
best minds.
Get some really good writers. Get J.K. Rowling on it. She'll come up with something good. She'll make it exciting.
Yeah. There's no shortage of poets out there.
There's some good writers.
Find some people to come in and create some new words for you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I'm trying to look it up. I had a blog post about the Lord's Prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Because this was a long time ago, back when I used to do blog posts. Do you remember those?
Yeah, Dan. Why don't you do those anymore?
Yeah, well. Anyway, so I was doing this Lord's Prayer. So I was reading in the Bible, and I found the part of Matthew. I think it's in Matthew where the Lord's Prayer comes from. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, wait, that's not the Lord's Prayer I've ever heard anybody actually say. Do you know the Lord's Prayer? It's not something that we Mormons used.
Let's see. It's
Our Father
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom
thy come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread. And
that's where it falls apart for me.
Forgive us our
trespasses.
Debts.
No.
In Matthew, it says debts.
Is there another one somewhere that says trespasses?
No, they just changed it. And so,
are you sure?
Yeah. So then I started to look up different translations of it because I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's forgive us our debts as we forgive those who are in debt to us, or something like that.
Right.
And then there's all these explanations about how debt, the word that they're translating also means a debt of meaning you've transgressed against someone or whatever.
Right.
But then I found, and I've just looked this up. This is from a translation called The Message.
Oh, that sounds nice.
It's a translation of the Bible.
Yeah.
So here is, I will now recite for you the Lord's Prayer as translated from Matthew in the Message Bible.
Oh, no.
Our Father in heaven, reveal who you are. Set the world right. Do what's best. As above, so below. Keep us alive with 3 square meals. Keep us forgiven with you and forgiving others. Keep us safe from ourselves and the devil. You're in charge. You can do anything you want. You're ablaze in beauty. Yes, yes, yes.
What's there instead in Matthew for yes, yes, yes?
I think it's just amen.
Amen. Yeah, you're right. So, oh, wow. That's horrid. That's awful.
That's some really interesting translating. So all I'm saying is everybody does it. Everybody comes up with their own wackadoo versions.
Yeah, but it's also like...
but that is like nothing like the other
Motel 6 version of the Lord's Prayer. It's just like stripped down.
That is
weird.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest version. That is nutso.
Give us our 3 square meals a day.
Keep us forgiven. You're in charge. You can do anything you want. That's their translation of "For thine is the power and the glory."
Did they just rewrite the King James version? Like, that's also one thing that I would love to know is how many of these rewrites, right? These different Bible translations, how many of them actually go back to the original,
I think
Greek and Aramaic?
I think most of them do that.
They do.
Yeah.
They don't.
Because like you look at theology schools or you listen to how a lot of these televangelists talk, and they will dive into like, well, this particular word, and they get really nitpicky about like this, this version of this word in Greek is, so this version of this word and in this thing doesn't mean these and those, but it means the people who are both this and this. It's a collective sort of thing, and blah, blah, blah. They get really nitpicky.
Wow. Okay.
That particular example was from my recent travels into Idaho, where all of the radio stations that I found had a preacher going at any given moment. So I'd stop and listen to one or two of them every now and then.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
It was like preacher, someone singing about Jesus, preacher, country music,
right.
preacher. Yeah,
it sounds a lot like driving across Nevada, except throw Glenn Beck in there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he just. Oh no, it wasn't Beck. It was what's his name? Hannity. He was on at one point.
He's insufferable.
Oh my God!
Like you cannot listen to that man. Glenn Beck at least is like there's a
he's entertaining.
Yeah,
that's for damn sure.
Yeah,
he's a nutball.
Yeah,
but he's entertaining.
Yeah, you can listen. You can listen. You can't listen long, but there's a certain novelty to listening to it. Oh, I'm listening to Glenn Beck.
Yeah, no. I listened to
Sean Hannity's
5 minutes of Hannity, and it was just a circle jerk of we're right, they're wrong. Yeah, there was a caller in who was just like, I've been trying to call in for 3 months now, and you're real busy, blah blah blah, and I just want you to know. And I'm doing the wrong accent because I think it sounded like a black guy, which that's its own version, like little fucked upness, but. Black guys liking Hannity, it's like black Mormons. It creeps me out. Anyway, this guy was just talking nonstop about, like, we support you, hey, Sean, you're the best, you're the only person who can save America, you're the only person, you blah, blah, blah. And it was just this love fest, and he never got to a point beyond that.
Yeah.
He'd been waiting for 3 months to just, like, jizz all over him?
Yeah, sounds about right. It's like the Ditto heads on Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
And you know that whole thing, Ditto head.
Yeah, people. Yes, I do know that thing, and they self-apply that term.
Yeah,
they don't even hide from it. Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to call in and start telling us how great we are. That's all we want. We don't want all your emails, all of your voicemails. Please just tell us how great we are. That's all you need to do. Speaking of emails and voicemails, let's get to a few of them.
Yeah.
We've talked a couple weeks about the Jewish practice of kaparot, not common practice, but the chickens.
It happens.
Chickens swinging, and so Scott was cute. He wrote us a little poem.
Oh yeah,
I thought I'd read it.
Okay.
Swing them chickens round your head while they're live, not when they're dead. All your sins will thus have fled, and the poor shall then be fed. Because they give the chickens to the poor. That's cute.
Nice.
He says religion could be funny if so many people weren't deadly serious about it. But they are, Scott. They're deadly serious about it. Why don't you play a voicemail for us?
All right, here we go.
Hi, Frank and Dan. I know this is not a sobriety podcast, but your community has helped me a lot. I'm John from West Georgia, and I really appreciate everybody that's been involved in my post on the Facebook part. I really appreciate all of it. Thank you.
All right, some context there.
So John is in the members only lounge.
Yeah.
We all have our struggles. John struggles a little bit with sobriety, and so the lounge has been a good supportive place for him to come for some
which is amazing.
Support.
Which is amazing. So I think it's great to call in and give a good public.
That's a shout out to all of the people, of the awesome people in the members only lounge, because they have been great, and keep being great, you guys. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
We had another write-in. Another Stephen wrote into us. Hey, Frank and Dan, I was listening to episode 289 on marriage, and Frank mentioned how with the younger generation, we are starting to see more men who are open about their bisexuality and are able to seek out male, quote, friends with the consent of their female partners.
Right.
I am 23, and recently I've come to terms with my sexuality, and I've thought about coming out as bisexual to my long-term girlfriend. I understand and I could understand and respect if her wishes are to remain monogamous, But I worry that even admitting to her that I'm bisexual would be relationship ending due to the fact that a lot of people think bi men are just lying and are actually gay. I'd like to thank Frank for bringing visibility to that, to the fact that bisexual men do exist.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
When it happens. But yeah, I mean,
what a blessing.
What a blessing, seriously. But yes, as we've often said, like, sexuality is not a set thing for many people, and how you do your sex is on you.
Right.
Get out there and do your sex the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sex is good for you.
Yes, it is.
And as long as you do it safely and wisely.
Yeah, and
because it can be very bad for you if you don't. I don't want to say that sex is universally good for you,
but also, not behind your partner's back.
Yeah,
is also like
ethically.
Everybody knows. Everybody's aware. Everybody is on board, and go have fun.
Get out there and get your sex on.
Yeah,
it's great. We are sex positive as a podcast. That is our official stance. Is there more voicemail?
Yeah, and this is a coming out story.
Ooh.
Hey guys, I just came out at work kind of accidentally without thinking about it. I'm working summer school, and there's a janitor who comes around to get trash, and yesterday he mentioned, I just got to do the thing and leave the rest up to God, and I kind of nodded, didn't think much of it. And today when he came around, he asked me, he mentioned something about being religious, something about God again, same kind of, God has a plan, and asked me straight up if I'm Christian. Now, normally, I would just say, no, I'm Jewish because I'm hedging and I don't like telling everybody what my business is. But today I was like, you know what? I just watched a 12-year-old girl come out in front of her Mormon ward. I can tell this janitor I don't believe in this stuff. So I do. I say, I'm not religious, not quite brave enough to go all the way atheist, but whatever. And this guy looks so sad, and he's your stereotypical old man janitor. And he says, what if I told you that in 2013 I saw Jesus and he's real? And I just said, well, I'm glad you had that experience. And he just didn't know how to react. I don't know if he expected me to just go like, wow, Jesus is real, or get angry, or what he was thinking. So I'm slightly concerned that I've now become this person's mission project. But I'll find out, and I'll keep you posted. Thanks for the podcast. Bye.
Well, congratulations on coming out.
Yeah.
And on making a new permanent best friend. No, I mean, the important thing is to be out.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
But it's important.
But
I mean, we say it's not easy. It was easy for us.
Yeah.
It's easy for us now.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it was easy enough in sort of the day-to-day life. It wasn't necessarily easy with my family.
No. And I'm not saying it was always easy. Now I don't have a problem. Like, there have been moments where it's been scary and hard to say it, but now I just fucking blurt it.
Right. And that's where you eventually get. Mm-hmm. You get comfortable with it. The confidence starts to build on that sort of topic.
Yeah.
Because you realize after multiple experiences that almost all of them go really well, and people continue being your friend.
Well, and you also learn strategies for how to talk to people who don't immediately take that very well.
Mm-hmm.
So you gain more confidence because you understand that you can handle that situation when it arises.
Yes, absolutely.
You can say, oh, actually, I'm an atheist. And when they go, oh, an atheist, you go, yeah, but I still believe a lot of the same things that we all believe. And, I think we're all in the same family. We're all on this, on this rock together. So
yeah, got to get along.
I certainly would want you to have all of your rights, and I just want to have all of my rights, and we're in great shape.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very important thing to do.
And hail Satan. Just throw that in at the end.
No, I think it's always important to reiterate how much of an impact coming out can have on the entire
on the movement.
Atheist movement, yeah.
Yeah. And the movement, I mean, we say movement. There's no this grand movement that's just about us being okay for us to be in society.
A movement, though. It is a movement.
Of course it's a movement.
You know.
And but the entire goal of it is just let us live our lives in peace and have the same rights as everybody else. That's all it is.
Right.
The same as all.
That doesn't mean it's not monumental, and
it can be.
It's
huge.
not going to require a huge shift
and a sacrifice from us,
and people in this country starting to see this country differently.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
coming out is about visibility.
Right. This is not. I think that it's a very significant thing for Americans to feel comfortable being atheists.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe just a few urban centers.
Right.
You know, and outside of certain fields.
And here's the thing. Most people, I mean, I was ostensibly the first atheist my in-laws met.
Right.
They had never, that's of course bullshit. They had met plenty of atheists, but they didn't know that.
Exactly.
And that's the issue. The issue is that, I mean, as we were talking about on that episode a few weeks ago, there are way more atheists than there are gay people in this country.
Absolutely,
way more.
Right.
But the gay community decided we have to come out. We have to be visible.
Right.
We have to risk it.
Right.
So that everybody knows how many gay people there are, so that we can start to be accepted.
And so that everybody knows a gay person.
Right.
So it changes people's perspective and understanding.
Because everybody's got an uncle, a niece, somebody that's
everybody has a gunkle
that's gay, and they've also got one of those that's an atheist, and probably two.
Yeah.
So
or more.
Right.
Because there statistically are so many more of us.
Right.
There's like 10 times the number of atheists as there are gay people
in this country.
Absolutely.
And yet,
and there is some crossover.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm one of those.
Ooh, you're a double threat. Yeah. So come out. One more email real quick.
All right.
Attention students and secular activists.
Oh, what is this?
SSA Con 2017.
Same-sex attraction con?
No.
What is it?
Oh, that is unfortunate, isn't it?
What is it?
This is from the Secular Student Alliance.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
SSA Con is July 7th through 9th, coming right up, and it's the largest secular student conference in the nation, put on every year by the Secular Student Alliance. This training and organizing conference is where the next batch of leaders sharpen their skill.
Awesome.
SSA Con specializes in leadership development, grassroots mobilizing, and secular activism. The con includes speakers like Annie Pearl Avery, a legend of the civil rights movement and self-identified secularist, and Becca Alper, a research associate at Pew Research Center, and an authority on shifting religiosity in America.
Oh. Okay.
There are panels and... Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I want to go to this thing.
I kind of want to go, but I can't. There are panels and trainings on social media, political activity, or political advocacy, rather, and community building, inclusive organizing, and much, much more. This week is the final week of discounted registration, so head to secularstudents.org to learn more and sign up to attend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Please do go to that if you're a student.
Yeah. Or interested in the SSA.
Is there like an age cutoff thing?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. All right. Well, I got some people to thank, Dan.
Oh, yes.
On Patreon. New patrons on Patreon.
Well
Everyone,
done.
Brace yourselves.
Yeah.
There are many.
Oh, good.
We have 3 new faithful listeners.
Excellent. Who are they?
Blaine, Crystal, and DJ. And then we have 2 new beatified listeners.
Oh.
Casey and Allison.
Glory be to them.
And James continues as our Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
That felt like I was leading to something bigger, but
no,
that's what it was. He's our Lord and Savior.
He is our Lord and Savior. In the name of James, we pray that all of you will have now blessings poured upon you as you have blessed us. Amen.
Amen. Dan,
Yes, sir.
these divided states.
I just got back. I took this road trip into Idaho and Wyoming.
Yeah.
The beautiful parts, not the ugly, stupid parts. But you can get pretty rural out there,
Yeah.
and that's great. I like the ruralness of it. That's kind of why I was going out there. I wanted to be alone with my thoughts for a while and sort of have some alone time. But they're different. The thinking, you can just feel it.
What thinking did you feel?
Well, like the thinking that I felt, like I met up with a guy from Wyoming that had a shirt that said, "Welcome to Wyoming. Assume everyone is armed."
Oh, yeah.
That was a proud thing for him to have, I guess. He was very proud of the armament of Wyoming.
Guns.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a Western value.
Sure enough. Well, I mean, yeah.
It is. The interior West is gun crazy.
I mean, I don't know that we want to call them crazy. They have guns, Frank. I have guns. I don't know why I'm saying they. Like, I have
Yeah, no, that's true.
the guns that I was raised with.
Yeah.
That I inherited when my pop died.
Yeah.
And I actually really love those guns. They're like one of my dad's rifles was made in 1941.
Oh, yeah.
One of them goes all the way back to 1916.
No way.
Yeah. Still
Wow.
shoots like a dream.
Whoa.
Yeah. So there you go. It's a different place. What we're getting at is, I mean, from the urban metropolis that is Salt Lake City.
Well, I mean, you say that, and we know where we live.
Yeah.
Right. We know what Salt Lake City is. But it is a blue dot.
You and I are well-traveled men.
Yeah.
We've been to the big cities of the
And
world.
we know this is not a big city, but it's a mid-sized city with some city amenities.
It's an urban environment.
It is. And it also happens to be the largest city for a sizable part of the country.
Yeah. Like everyone, if you are in Idaho, if you are in most of Wyoming, if you are in
Western Colorado.
Western Colorado, most of Nevada, northern Nevada, certainly. Salt Lake is your big city.
Yeah.
When it's time when you need to do the shopping that you cannot do in your area.
Right.
I mean, I'm guessing that this is changing with the advent of these internets that they've got out there.
Yeah, I mean,
now.
you can find whatever you need or want on Amazon.
But people
let's
still
say.
come. They want to go to the big city, and Salt Lake is where they go.
Yeah.
It is their big city.
Well, and it's also the place where younger people who may want to not live in their small little town, but maybe don't want to leave the region, move to.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a handful of people like that.
Lots of people
who landed in Salt Lake because, again, they want a little bit more of the city life. And
you and I were talking about a mutual acquaintance from Montana who came to the big city here in Salt Lake.
Boy, and it was the big city. Like, he told me stories of when friends or family would come down from Montana, and he'd be driving them around, and they're like, "You actually get on the freeway to like go from one part of town to the other?" And he's like, "Yeah, because that's not we're okay."
Yeah,
but if you're from Butte, Montana, yeah, that's a novelty.
It's a big city.
Yeah,
it's a different thing. Here's the thing: the reason that we're bringing this up,
yes,
is because there is a divide in this country between the rural and the urban.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of never the twain shall meet kind of thing that's happening right now.
Yeah. Well, the twain do meet, and they meet in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And this article that I read about, this divide actually worked in the suburbs as sort of this third space that does need to be considered when talking about America.
Right.
And why things don't make sense right now.
Yeah. It's a weird... Here's the thing. I think people in urban environments, we urbanites.
Well, I'm soon to be quite urban.
Oh, yeah, you're moving downtown.
Downtown Salt Lake City.
So urban you are. I think we don't get each other. I think the urbanites have lots of misconceptions about what's going on in the minds of the more rural parts of America, and vice versa. The rural people clearly don't get us.
No,
at all. Other than, I mean, they're right about us being like basically just Satan worshipers who only want to destroy the country. They're right about that part.
Well, I mean, I think there's a really interesting thing that happens, that's happening, right? Urbanites sure do love the rural, especially when they can meet it at the farmer's market.
Yes.
And I guess what that really highlights for me is that I don't think that this is entirely a balanced thing, right? I think that urbanites tend to have a fascination with kind of rural life. It holds a nostalgia in sort of the American psyche that there's something wholesome and good, and that there's something to be appreciated out there.
Gosh,
and just like you did, you just went on a little journey out into nowhere in order to have some time alone. And so there's value in it, right?
Yeah.
What I don't think...
I was trying to avoid the people largely.
Okay, well, whatever. But what I don't think that you get from the other side, and I've lived on both sides.
That's true.
I actually lived a good amount of my childhood in rural Oklahoma. And I mean rural. It was a little town of 3,500 people.
Yeah.
Right? And we actually even lived out in the country at one point. But so that's who I went to school with. That's, that's who my friends were.
You know the mindset.
And I know the mindset, and I guess that's who I was. Ish. Never really fit in, but whatever.
Well, you liked boys. Somewhere in there, you knew you liked boys. And you were a Mormon in a non-Mormon area.
So I was a bit of an outsider. But I don't think that the rural side there is maybe a fascination with in some way, but there's also a great fear of the more urban spaces.
Of the urbanites. Well, that is a cultivated fear. That is a fear that, like, every day or every week when when we're sort of trolling the Right Wing Watch and all of the different websites that we go to try and find our stories and to try and find things to talk to you guys about, we see pastors talking about how evil these liberals are and how evil these city dwellers are and how they and we hear ourselves referred to as Satan worshipers, and we hear ourselves referred to as the people who are literally, they say, we're trying to our stated goal is to destroy our country,
right? Which is laughable,
but not to them.
I know, and I honestly, even though I lived on that side, I don't understand that. I don't get that at all.
But it's fear-mongering.
Yeah.
Again, fear is a useful tool.
Yeah.
If you want to keep butts in your seats at your church, you gotta go fear. Fear is the best way to do it. And so they do. And so we end up kind of screwed. We end up being these hated, feared, loathsome creatures to them that are a different breed in some way. And it's weird because our values, they talk about values all the time. Yeah. And we don't use the word values very much in the urban world. We don't talk about values.
Right.
But they're the fucking same. Like, largely we value the same things.
More
now,
like,
when you get down to
distill it down to things that we do value. Yes. Absolutely.
When you get to specifics, things change up a little bit. Like, they definitely don't value queer voices.
Right.
And
inclusion and diversity are definitely values that I think are more common and more embraced in urban settings.
Right, because the guy that lives next to you is a different race than you are,
Right.
and the woman that lives across the street from you is a different religion than you are, and that's just bound to happen. And the more urban you get, the more of that you're going to have.
And that person who is different from you, because, we were the Mormons.
Right.
Right. And so we were different, but we also didn't live on top of each other.
Right.
We didn't live in close proximity. And even in sort of your single-family dwelling neighborhoods of a city, the homes are closer.
Yeah.
If not, like, extremely close with smaller yards. And so you're just, the proximity to other people just changes your attitudes about other people.
Entirely. When you have to be on the train with people who are going to be vastly different than you,
Yeah.
you develop a sense that, like, we all have to accommodate each other.
Right.
Whereas when you live in a community where everybody's kind of monolithic and, you don't have to accommodate anybody who's different. Yeah. Difference is not appreciated. Difference is scary. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is sort of the main thing that we were.
Yeah.
I think that there's a mistake that we as sort of, I mean, I grant that, like, not all of our listeners consider themselves politically liberal.
Right.
But we all have to sort of embrace progressivism in the sense that, like, that's what will encourage people to embrace atheists.
Yeah.
We have to progress as a society to the point where everyone's accepted.
Right.
So I think that this is where you and I have always had this problem with sort of firebrand atheism as a message. I don't have a problem with people being angry because I get angry too.
Right.
And I get where the anger comes from. It makes total sense to me.
Right.
But when the messaging becomes in your face, we're here, get used to it. To some extent, you have to say that. We have to say, we are here. You don't have a choice in this matter.
Right.
But the messaging to the rural, to the Christian rural population of this country, it's not going to get through. What you're doing is creating an enemy. Yeah. And reinforcing that enemy status. Right. We're saying, we are your enemy, you are our enemy, and we are in a fight.
So, how do we go about filing lawsuits like the one we just talked about in Pensacola?
Sure.
And any number of the lawsuits that we've talked about through the years, right?
Right.
Where you're challenging a very inappropriate thing, right? That the city should not be paying for or should not be accommodating on that level.
And is in some way oppressing us. Like, there's a lot of ways in which, like, this is basically the messaging that's coming from them is Christianity is the only acceptable thing.
This is the right one. The rest of you will tolerate you, but
not your.
You have to deal with the fact that this public park has this big giant cross in it.
Right.
So how do we go about standing up for ourselves when any act of standing up is going to be seen as an attack?
That's a great question. I mean, believe me, it's not like I feel like we have the answers here.
Right.
But I do think that there needs to be a concurrent messaging that happens that's saying, that's basically saying, look, we're not trying, like, someone needs to be saying loudly and clearly to these people, we're not trying to stop you being Christians.
Right.
We respect and honor your Christianity.
Right.
All we're asking is that you open. I feel like in the thinking in rural America is about who's on my team.
Right.
It's about who am I and who's in the same corral.
Right.
And some of them, and nobody seems to be able to make the message just, hey, you stay there and you be happy there. Mm-hmm. Can we open the corral a little bit? Mm-hmm. Can we widen the fence just enough to say other people are okay here too?
Right.
And that's what America is supposed to be about. That's what all of the talk of America, that's the America.
Right. But that's not what our small towns are about. Our small towns are about there's an in group, and there really isn't a lot of space.
Right.
I mean, there really is not.
It's tight.
You either belong to one of the 4 or 5 accepted denominations, Christian denominations, by the way.
And you can't even be a J-dub, apparently. Like, even Jehovah's Witnesses.
Being Mormon was tough. My family, we were not Methodist, Baptist, Church of Christ, or Pentecostal.
Right.
Those were the 4 that spring immediately to mind for Fort Gibson, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Right. There were a number of us who were Mormon, and that number at my high school was 5.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Out of 500 students.
Right.
Right. Because it was a small high school in a small town. So I don't know. I think I lost my thread there, but like
we're talking about how tightly. How small the allowable number of things are.
It's as though the other kids didn't know how to deal with the fact. Well, it's not as though. It was the other kids didn't know how to deal with any kind of difference.
Right. Difference isn't a value to them. So I think the messaging that I want to get out there is this embracing of this vision of America, which is a pluralism, which is I was raised with this idea of a melting pot. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like everybody comes to America, everybody's welcome in America.
Yeah,
we take the best of what everybody has to offer.
Yeah,
and it improves us.
Yeah,
and no one's talking to rural America about that.
Well, they'll say similar things, or at least they used to. I don't know if they talk about the melting pot so much anymore. But I remember America as a melting pot being a thing that was said. However, it seemed to apply to the English, Irish, Germans, and pick the other white group.
Sometimes we let Italians in. Not usually, but sometimes.
But the idea that the melting pot is not just in the past, but it's a present thing.
It's a value.
And that it's a value. I don't know that was what was being taught. But the fact that all these nations had come together in one nation.
It was a good thing then.
Yeah.
That was really a positive thing then.
Immigration in the past is always a good thing because it means that you got to come here.
Right.
Right.
So now that I'm in, quick, close the door before the rest of them get in. Which is believe me, that's a thing that I understand. As soon as I get into a restaurant or whatever, I don't want anybody, please keep the rest of the riffraff out. Now that I have riffed my raff in.
Yeah, but isn't it great to be able to sit down at a restaurant that's, owned by and operated by a family from Vietnam or from India or Afghanistan. Have you been to the new Afghani restaurant?
Is there one in Utah?
Afghan Kitchen down on Main Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go there.
It's pretty good. These it's awesome not just from a culinary perspective.
Mostly from a culinary perspective.
No, for me, I'm what some would call a bleeding heart. I just love it. I love it when people are able to start a new life and create their own thing and find prosperity. And
they take good parts about our society that they didn't have in theirs.
Yeah.
And we take good parts about their society that we don't know about. And
we probably take less from, the Bosnian immigrants than they take from us.
Yeah, because there's a nightmare over there. It's just terrible.
Because the numbers are so small.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We're not going to absorb that much from a small group.
Right. Actually, we have a lot of Bosnians.
In the city? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. We have a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Bosnians, Brazilians. I don't know why I know so many Brazilians.
Well, because once you know one Brazilian,
you know all of them.
Suddenly,
that's true.
They come out of the woodwork.
That's actually true. That is... It doesn't work for everyone, but with Brazilians, one, a ton of them.
Yeah.
Anyway. But nonetheless, it's fantastic, and having friends from other parts of the world, I think, is a great thing.
I think
one of my dearest friends is, from Brazil.
I just want there to be a politician, a national politician, who starts talking in no uncertain terms, in grand, glorious terms, about how how diversity is an American value and it helps us.
Yeah.
And that's America.
Yeah.
And that's what America has always been about and what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And make that the jingoistic call.
Yeah.
Make that because right now it's like America's Christian and America's white and America's, and we need to be running away from that messaging.
Yeah. America is always changing.
Yeah.
Our people are always changing. But what holds us together is pretty solid set of laws that, when applied correctly,
aren't about oppressing anybody. They're about making space for everybody.
Yeah.
Space. That's what it's the final frontier.
We won't find peace until
we have space for everybody.
That's true.
If there's one thing that rural America has plenty of, it's space.
Well, okay. That's all we have to do.
Yeah. We're there. We're there. You know what? Here's what I think. I think there are people who listen to the show who are currently living in very rural areas.
We have a lot of listeners who live in rural areas. Actually.
So shout out to us. Give us a call. Write to us. Write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com and let us know what your experience is. Maybe we're way off base.
Yeah, maybe things have changed in the last 20 years since I last lived in a rural place.
Right.
But you could leave us a voicemail message. 424-666-8442 is the telephone number that you can call.
Yeah, let your voice be heard. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but that's what keeps it awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, speaking of that, thanks to Sarah, Danny, and Amy for their moderation work on that website.
And thanks to Mackenzie for all of her hard work with her daily posts on Facebook.
Yeah, and thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnson for the use of their fine music.
And thank you, our dear listener, for listening.
You're the only one we have.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Oh, he looks like a preacher man.
What are you, on Tinder? Grinder?
Ooh, look at him. He looks like a preacher. Woo.